In this video, I want to talk about how to actually get input from the user with SDL. So the way that it works in SDL is that they have a queue, I believe, of events that they keep that they store in their like in a pool or something, and then you need to iterate over that pool and read it, like every event individually. So you will have to check whether it was a key press or like they actually moved the mouse or whatever. And they have a lot of attributes for you to find so that you can tell like specifically what actually happened. For instance, for the mouse, if they actually moved it, they report back the amount of pixels that they moved it from the x-axis and the y-axis. So it's relatively easy, except for like the devices that happen with like motion specifically, like joysticks. There it's a little bit tricky to actually make it work like you want, but we will maybe be like getting into more details in some other episode. For this one, all I really want to do is have our window be displayed, and so that we can exit it or change the rendering status. So if we actually wanted to determine like whatever they actually press, we'll need to set our rendering logic inside a loop, because we will read off of every single event, every single frame, so that like a real application works. Because we are gonna change the behavior of the program depending on whatever input the user gives us, right? So we will need to define, first of all, an event variable with the SDL event attribute. And then we'll also need to define like a run variable. So essentially, run while this is still true. Then we will need to move our render clear and present functions over here, because we're gonna, clear the screen and re-render every single frame. Now, the reason that we do it this way is, imagine that you're making a game and you have a system that updates the positions of your objects, right? So what will happen is, just like when you were making animations in your books from school, like I did it at least, you will draw every single frame with a different position, and then you will just let the sheet flow or whatever, and then you will see like an animation. This is the same. This is how animation works. There are frames that are stuck together like in a rapid succession, and they appear to have like an animation or like a sense of movement to that regard. That's a real name explanation, so maybe you want to look it up for a more in-depth detailed explanation. But for the purposes of these things, I think it's good enough. So then, like I said, we will need to iterate over the event pool from SDL, and in here we will have to check specifically what the event is about. For instance, if we look into the event structure, you can see a lot of things defined, and one of them is the type. So the type is like I was talking about. Like, was it a key press from the keyboard? Was it a motion from the mouse, or whatever it is? It's defining here. For instance, if it was a mouse button down, like you can see over there, it's defined. But we want the key down because we just want to read the events from the keyboard. Now, if there was a key event, I just want to exit the window, right? I don't care what you press. I don't care at all. I just want to know that you do a key press, and that's the event that I want to look for actually close everything. I'm also going to delete this delay because we don't need it anymore. And then I forgot to add the quit call at the end of the program in the previous episode. This is basically like deletes or freeze every single resource that you allocated with this library. So it's just like a good practice, at least from what I'm understanding. And from their documentation. I'm not making this up. Anyways, let me open a terminal and compile this thing. Now, if I run it, there we have our window. Wait, where did it go? Where is it? Oh, I closed it. I closed it already because every single key press is gonna. Yeah, you know what? I'm actually gonna change it so that it's a full screen window, because otherwise it's gonna be a little bit messy. So that's our full screen window. And if we do a key press, there we go, it exits right away. Now, we don't want that. We actually want to look for specific key presses. So we will use a switch event. I mean, this can be just a bunch of hits. It doesn't make any difference. But I think it looks better in the long run because you end up with really chunks of code just to look at whatever it is that they're doing with their computer. So vent, and then we're gonna go to key, then Q symbol, I believe, and then sim. And from there, we're gonna check for SDLK. I don't know. Let's change the draw color for the renderer so that it's green when they press G, red if they press R, and whatnot. So we're gonna copy this line over here, and then so this is blue, right? This is gonna be 0, and gonna be 255, and then we're gonna break it. And we also need a key press for accident. So in this, I'm gonna use the X. So whenever I press G, the screen is gonna go green, and if I press X, then it's gonna exit. I don't think there is a problem with this thing. Also, I need to move this render clear function right over here, because if we change the rendering draw color in that frame, it's not going to take effect until the next one. Maybe it's not noticeable because we're not really doing something that heavy, but the moment you start adding a lot of things, then things tend to slow down a bit. So anyways, it's just that we can see it right away when the key was pressed. I think this is going to work. If it doesn't, we're just going to debug it. So I'm going to recompile it, run it. Then if I press G, there we have our green screen. And if we press X, there we go. It exits. Now, let's do it for the other ones. Oops. And blue. So this is gonna be 255, 0, 0, 255. Right? This is gonna make sense. If it doesn't work, like I said, we're gonna look into it. So yeah, sorry about that. My window manager sometimes, doesn't work that well. So green, red, blue. Ooh, we have a party man. Anyways, so I'm gonna press X just to exit, and there we go. That is all that I wanted to do for this video. This is like essentially what you will do just to read inputs. And like I mentioned, the types that we have defined in here, that determines everything. So I'm gonna do something else for this episode. I'm actually gonna look on the online documentation of SDL for the event structure. So I'm gonna just use the built-in web browser from Emacs so that we can look it up. And then if we go into type, it says event type share with all events, right? So I want to look for those types. There we go. Those are all the types of events that we're going to encounter. Like audio device sided, I haven't even used it, but look at this, like controller access, motion, button down, button up, finger motion for touch events, because remember that this library is ported to Android. So if you wanted to develop like Android applications or games, you could definitely do it with this one. In fact, I've done some like prototypes of games with this thing. But anyways, whenever you have like a question about the library, you can always just look it up on the site, which is wiki.libsdl.org, and then you're gonna look whatever it is that you're looking for. It's usually really updated, and it's good enough that you can understand whatever's happening. Because usually you're just gonna look for the structures, the specific structures that you need for your program, in order for your program to work. But anyways, like in the previous episode, I'm gonna leave a link to at least this entry from the SDL2 wiki. And if you have any questions or something that I can help, just let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to address it. Anyways.